Welcome to our Energy Engine webinar. This webinar is geared to take approximately 45 minutes as we know that your time is valuable. Once we have completed, we will open it up to a short Q&A section, so please hold your questions until then, or if you want, you can put them in your GoToMeeting chat box. If you look on the right side of your screen, there's the GoToMeeting box. About 3/4 of the way down, there's a little area marked chat. Simply type your questions in there, and I'll address them in the order that they come in. John Brable and Mark Stillman are the co-founders of Energy Edge, a management services firm which provides a broad range of services for both energy dealers as well as companies that provide their products and services to the industry. In 2011, at the encouragement of several heating oil dealers, a separate standalone software business was launched. Today, the Energy Engine offers the leading e-commerce business system for heating oil and propane dealers. Online fuel sales remain the only category in the industry that is showing strong year-over-year growth, exceeding 30% even during the most recent warm winter. Whether you provide full service, CRD, or both, online fuel sales have proven to complement your existing core business and connect you with a new breed of energy consumer by effectively utilizing the internet to attract, serve, and retain new customers. Through these webinars, John and Mark hope to share some of the changes and challenges they see for our industry, stimulate a meaningful dialogue concerning these changes, and sometimes even challenge the conventional thinking of the industry. Presenting today's webinar is Mark Stillman. Mark?
Thank you, Adrian. Welcome, everyone. Early on a Friday morning, everybody seemed to be slow getting on, including me. But good news is it's 25 degrees here in central New Hampshire, so I'm sure my oil company is happy about that. We did this webinar yesterday for a great group. The founder of Energy Engine and sort of the brain trust behind it, John Brable, was not able to join. He is on the phone today, so you may pop in and out, and if not, then he'll be critiquing my performance as usual. So again, thank you. These webinars are great. They're educational. They're not meant to be overly salesy. We're really here to educate about changes in the industry and things that you can do to overcome them. Not that you don't have enough challenges on your plate, but the consumer is certainly posing some interesting ones these days that we can go through in a minute. As Adrian said, we like to challenge thinking a bit. I have a 20-plus year history in the industry, and on the operations side, the consulting, the technology side, and I've become a student of the industry and its ever-changing dynamics. I got into it about 1995 when really things started to go haywire, commodity forces and consumer forces and the advent of COD. So I've kind of witnessed it all. Certainly in the last 5 or 8 years, things have accelerated in terms of change, and the pressure on the dealer community seems to be growing by the day. But that is not to say that people are not thriving and will continue to thrive in this industry, because as a mature market, there's always money to be made. And our job at Energy Edge and Energy Engine is to help you find innovative ways to do that. We'd like to have you open your minds a bit. I'm not asking you to agree with everything I'm going to say today, because you probably won't, and that's perfectly fine. And if you have a particular point that you'd like to make or a particular debate, please chat it in, and Adrian can pop that question in. We're going to be talking a lot today about the changing face of the full-service traditional oil and fuel business and how the dynamics are shifting more to on-demand, or what historically we've called will call in the past. And those changes are really adding some interesting dynamics to how you folks do business, but it's a polarizing topic. Every time I have a meeting and we talk about full service and on-demand will call and online fuel sales, a debate almost always ensues within minutes. So my job today is to discuss the facts and not share so much my opinions about the industry, but what is actually happening. The other job I have today is that, yes, we sell a turnkey e-commerce solution that allows you to sell fuel online in an extremely sophisticated way, but it's very easy and affordable, but that's really not what we're selling. We're also not selling the concept that you can grow your business by making your price the cheapest in the market. We're often accused of that, and that is not what we're all about. We're all about you folks making money and growing your market share, but tapping into a different type of consumer. We're simply selling a tool that helps you adapt to a new part of the market and changing dynamics, and we're going to go through that a little bit in a minute. So, ignoring half your customers, quite a provocative title. In some cases, you are, and we'll go through that. Here's what I hope to accomplish in about 35 or 40 minutes and give us a chance for some questions. I talk about the changing behaviors in fuel buying, what consumers are doing, what's driving this change, how to overcome these changes. They're having an impact on your business. It may or may not be obvious. To some, it's extremely obvious. We hear about it every day. John and I and Adrian are communicating with dozens and dozens of dealers every week. We have quite a large perspective and panoramic view of the industry. We can share some of those facts in a second. Talk about an integrated brand strategy, that you can be more things to more people and maintain your status in your market. In fact, in some cases, improve the status in your market by being more things to more people. And then really what it takes to be successful with e-commerce. So without further ado, let's talk about the obvious. Okay, so here's what we know is that the automatic customer base, your traditional full-service customer in the fuel business, has now dipped below 50% of the market, and the will call, which we have called it in the past, people now seem to be using the term on demand, because it's not so much that these folks are the bottom of the barrel or 521 FICO scores. These are folks who are making a different choice to buy their fuel for a lot of different reasons. But these shifting dynamics are posing a problem for full-service companies who rely upon automatic delivery customers. If they look around and realize that less than half of their market now is buying that way, what do we do with the other 55%? We can't simply ignore them. In 2000, I was working for a large heating oil company as an analyst, and at that point we were trending around 25 to 30% will call in the industry. I did some research, and probably 75% or so automatic. So pretty dramatic changes in the past 15 years. These numbers continue, and in fact, in some markets, they're accelerating. So this really is what the energy engine is all about, which is we have a growing segment of the market that has always been a challenge for us as dealers for a lot of different reasons, but we can't simply ignore it anymore and hope that the automatic full-service customers can carry the day. There just aren't enough of them. The other thing is that, the demand, as you know, in this industry has eroded. So if you look at the gallons of the 4 billion gallons of heating oil consumed by homeowners in the U.S., well over 2 million of that is being purchased on demand. So again, not a part of the market that we can simply ignore or call junk anymore. So why has this change happened, and why is it accelerating? First and foremost, it's important to note, and we do this all the time, we are not anti-full service. In fact, we are pro-full service. We fully understand the difficulty of selling a commodity and adding value propositions to that allow a premium price and allow you folks to make money. So although often accused, we are pro-full service. It really is a differentiator. It has allowed an industry for generations to sell a commodity and make it a little different in the eyes of the consumer. But the consumer is changing, certainly, in the last 5 or 8 years. And really what they're defined by now is self-determination. If we all step back and be a little pragmatic for a second and honest with ourselves, we like to decide how we do business with whoever it is we're buying from, whether it's cars or clothes or electronics. We like to determine the mode. We like to go into a store. We like to go online. We like to have a variety of different ways to engage a consumer. The fuel business has sort of largely been defined by one model. Here's how we do it. Here's the price. And let's hope everybody likes it. And for a long time that worked. But with a new modern consumer, that doesn't work. In fact, they get quite annoyed at the fact that we have one model to offer. So self-determination is certainly driving people to take control of their energy buying the way they're taking control of everything from car insurance to financial services. If you look at those type of industries, you see the same changes occurring. We did research at the University of New Hampshire back in 2011, a very prominent and a successful marketing firm in the industry that you all know very well that I will not name, just did another research study And it just validated what we knew in 2011, that the full service value proposition that we're all sort of plodding along with here is not appealing to the 25 to 44 age group. That is what marketers determine to be sort of the most fertile ground and the group you have to appeal to. And the full service model is less and less appealing to this group. There's certainly folks in that group who love full service and will buy that way, but by and large, it's definitely falling flat. And that has been proven several times over the past 5 years. Loyalty is a problem. On-demand allows the consumer to make a choice. They're not as loyal as they used to be, obviously. We know that, but a lot of other industries know it too. One prominent area is automobiles. People used to be incredibly loyal to brands of cars. And now, if you look at buying patterns, people buy different brands constantly. They're popping from one to the next, one deal to the next, one feature to the next. There's just not that loyalty in the consumer market anymore. And that's driving people to on-demand. They want to make their own choice and decide who to do business with. Yes, does it create transiency? Yes, no doubt about it. But that's just a fact of life in today's environment. The other thing is it's a buyer's market. I talked before about the fact that we all know, I don't want to drill home a dramatic fact, that demand has shrunk from 10 billion to about 4 billion gallons of heating oil in the U.S. since 2000. A lot of that was the natural gas shale phenomenon. A lot of it was the big run-up in prices in 2007 and 8, driven by our friends at Goldman Sachs and Morgan and the rest of them. You can thank them for that. But a whole bunch of people fled from the heating oil and even the propane market. There's a belief that propane has been safe from this, but the propane volumes have gone from 12 billion to 7 billion in the same time period. So there, if you're in that business too, you know that that is also changing dramatically. In that same time, where demand has been halved and more, the number of dealers has not changed very much. And I often get argued about this, that yes, there's less and less. And there's not less really. There's been aggregation. But there's roughly the same amount of dealers that there were back in 2000. So that makes it a buyer's market. It's not unusual for us to go in and talk to a dealer who is competing not in a large urban environment, but in some cases rural environments with 20 or 25 different companies in a single geography. So the buyers know they have the upper hand, and hence their decision to shop and basically find the best deal that they can. And then, of course, the internet has changed everything. There's more transparency, it's easier access, there's easier methods to connect with fuel dealers who are online or businesses of all kinds. And it also has become a shopping paradise. People go there for everything. And it's also kind of fun. We've become a nation who has ADD. We sit around getting our oil changed and at the airport, and we can't put our phone down. We're not really doing anything for the most part, and it's not unusual for our customers to tell us that they'll see the same client of theirs hit their website 7 or 8 times a day. Look at the newsletter, what's the latest fun fact, going on the Facebook post. It's just we're on it every day, we're in it every day, and it's driving folks to make different decisions. So if we know that we have over half the market on demand, we know that consumers continue to self-determine and be very, very tough. This industry for a long time was defined by incredible loyalty, incredible price stability, easy to add customers. Things were very, very stable for a long time, and now the thing has sort of been tipped on its head, and I don't have to tell any of you that. So what can you do to deal with this new consumer that your folks in the front lines probably are pulling their hair out over every day? Well, let's start with what you can't do, because typically, if I talk to dealers facing this problem, this is what this is where they go. So they want to ignore half the market. You can't do that. They want to say, well, we don't want that business anymore. It's junk. We're going to stick in the full service business. Well, on-demand is not junk business. Yes, the will-call market, the COD market, certainly is full of people, again, with 512 FICO scores who want 50 gallons, who have an angry pit bull in the yard and want you to come at 2:30 and want you to drop everything. But on-demand, more than ever, research is proving out, is made up of doctors, lawyers, school teachers, firefighters, you name it. There's a lot of folks in that segment that are far from junk business. My neighbor here in New Hampshire, I'm a proud full-service customer. I'll be the first to admit it. He's not. He's an on-demand customer, and he's a physician locally, and he's just like, I don't want to be at the beck and call of my company. I want to be able to make my own decisions. Hardly junk business. So we kind of have to have our change our thinking a little bit on that front. The other thing, this has been the problem. I think the reputation of will call and COD is less than stellar for a couple of reasons. First, the profile has been less than appealing for many years. But if you run a price-sensitive, sort of ad hoc, disruptive customer through your full-service model, yes, it will be A, a pain in the butt, and B, quite unprofitable. People looking for small drops, people who are price-sensitive, people who want you to drop everything, people who call up multiple times, you're extending credit, they're hard to get money from, it's load to load. Administratively, it's very, very draining, and if you're doing that through your full-service sort of business model, it won't work. And we know that from years and years of experience. Yes, occasionally you have what I call automatic will call, people who like to call, but for the most part are automatic customers. But by and large, these are disruptive people, and you got to find a more efficient way to service and fulfill them and not ignore them. E-commerce is the answer. There's no doubt that using the internet in an unattended way to market, to interact, to communicate, to take orders, to take payments, to have fuel prepaid, no picking up checks, none of the junk that goes along with it, no phone calls, to do that in an unattended manner really is the way to reach this market profitably. But you have to understand what e-commerce technology is. E-commerce technology is very sophisticated. Our product does a lot of automated marketing and refer a friend and newsletters, and all these things are happening in an unattended way. It's not a portal where your customers can go sign up for a price program or pay their bill or maybe order oil or service, although most people don't allow that. It's also not a shopping cart where every time they go on to buy something, they have to log in again, put all their information again. Our customers have their own record. They're communicated with regularly. Your customers on our system, I should say. So you really have to delineate between what we're doing and what you might be doing today that feels like e-commerce, but really is very likely just a customer portal for existing business. So what can you do? Well, as any therapist would say, sometimes you just have to accept, embrace things, folks, and embrace things. And I think it's okay. One thing you probably all ought to do is take a deep breath and realize that markets change every day. Again, businesses like auto sales and real estate have been tipped on their head by the internet and the changing consumer. I have a client outside of the energy space who was in the digital document business for years and years and years and had this incredible run. And then Adobe and the Chinese and everybody else came out and started doing it for free. And within months, their industry literally evaporates before their eyes, and they had to retool and do something else. It's okay, it happens. The second thing we need to do for sure is stop value judging our customers, that we can't continue to think that our automatic customers are the best people in town and our will call customers are our crappiest people in town. That just isn't the case anymore, and if you look at the way M&A is happening, there's not so much discounting being done in valuation around will call customers, because if it's half the market, you can't discount that as much anymore. But you have to do this profitably. So when you're looking at ways to embrace this change, to adapt to this change in the consumer market, to prop up your P&L, you have to think of profits all the time. With a product like that we have in the expertise, and certainly there are other folks in the industry, you really need to focus on making money here and not winging it on your own, which can be often quite damaging to your business. So what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about growth. Growing full service in this industry, I'm sorry to say this, and I often provoke an argument, it's pretty close to impossible. There's less and less full service customers. There's more and more people out there wanting to steal your customers. To grow your full service business, you have to essentially steal them from somebody else. So what does that mean? It means a big sales effort. It means lots of giveaways. It's extremely expensive right now, $700 to $900 all in to bring a customer on that's full service. And by research, half of those people are gone within 18 months. They're coming in, they're disruptive, you don't know their K factors, you're doing crummy drops to them, getting to know them, and then they're gone. And it's recouping that $700 or $900 is incredibly difficult. Those who can grow typically lose just as many. And I don't know many dealers who don't high-five each other at the end of the year when they have a net zero in attrition. They brought in 500 and they lost 500 and they're pretty happy. Unfortunately, a lot of those folks are trading good business for bad business at very high premiums. So the growth in this industry on the full service side is an uphill battle for sure. So you have to grow somewhere, and that growth is coming from the on-demand sector. And there's a ton of it out there. So it's a big market. Sometimes it feels like in the fuel business, like we have as many customers as we can possibly get. We can't seem to get any more. We have 5,000 customers. And when we do a comparison for our clients of their market share in the context of the total market, they are most often stunned by how small a market share that they have. We have folks who are very, very proud of being the player in the space, and then they realize they have 6 or 7% of the market, and they're looking at you like you have 5 heads. But the truth is, most oil companies, even large ones, don't have a large market share. There's a big upside out there. So when we talk about not being able to grow, putting our head in our hands and wondering how we're going to sustain this business for the future, most of you are sitting there with 95% of the market not buying from you. So how do you get these folks? Where are they? Really, e-commerce is the most effective way to get there. Marketing is massively expensive. Putting salespeople's feet on the street is massively expensive. E-commerce is certainly going to give you an advantage in terms of the consumer's view of you, but it'll also give you an advantage over your competition because it'll allow you to reach and convert this business in a very cost-effective, sophisticated way. So it's the only category that's growing. We know this. My partner, John, who's on the phone today, keeps massive library of data on our clients. We track the performance. We have well over 50 clients, multiple locations, very large businesses with hundreds of trucks, very small business with a handful of trucks. And when you talk to them and look at their businesses, the online fuel sector is the only sector that's growing, truly. We know after many years in this business, John and Adrian, prior to having the engine, were in the e-commerce fuel business for a dozen years. This is not a theory. This is a proven system to add customers effectively, profitably. They're loyal. And the acquisition cost of these customers versus instead of being $700 to $900, is roughly probably in the neighborhood of $25 to $35. So it is the way to do it. I often joke with John that sometimes we get caught up in this debate in the industry as if e-commerce doesn't work, that somehow the fuel business is different than every other industry on earth and that e-commerce doesn't work. And I scratch my head and say, we don't need to debate whether e-commerce works. I'm fairly certain that Nordstrom and Kohl's can prove that e-commerce works, even when you're a premium brand. So we know that this is a good way to reach these consumers. Like I said, it puts you where people are every day. We all shop. I shop almost every day. I might not be buying every day, but I'm certainly geeking around the internet, shopping for something, researching something every single day. If you're there in that mix, you look incredibly up to date. And this industry, unfortunately, suffers from often looking out of date and out of touch. And smart dealers are not looking that way anymore. They're fed up with it. You deliver what your customers want. They want choice and they want convenience. You can't deliver one model, one product to them anymore. It just simply will lose their interest, even the most loyal ones. The last two here are near and dear to my heart. We have, for many, many years in this business, wanted to diversify. We've tried HVAC, we've tried pool water, we've tried delivering ice. We've done everything under the sun to try to diversify because we all saw the writing on the wall. You're all smart people. You know how to run great businesses, and you saw the changes in the market. So diversification was a way to ensure long-term viability. Well, what we're finding is most of that stuff just didn't work. So as a business consultant for many, many years, I always tell people, ask the question, have you maximized your core competency? Which is consultant speak, is have you made all the money you can with what you do best? And what do you folks do best? You deliver, you buy, you hedge, and you deliver fuel, and you do it better than anybody. Yet you're all sitting on 5-8% market share. You've hardly maximized your core competency. E-commerce, tapping into the on-demand space, might be the smartest diversification strategy ever because it's right in your wheelhouse. It's looking at opportunities in the very best thing that you do. So that's a very unique perspective, but we have a lot of folks. We have one client I went to, I can't name, in New York very recently, an amazing visit, has diversified, tried a whole bunch of things, went online, and in their first year, 1 year, most of our customers have a tough first year, and then they have an amazing second year. This dealer put 1 million gallons of fuel through their business, 1 million gallons of new fuel through their business using e-commerce and the energy engine. And we sat down and they said, geez, we've tried all these other things, and I turned this thing on, I got 1 million gallons. And my partner, John, asked him, well, how many of those 1 million gallons came from your existing customers, though? Because we were even wondering how you put 1 million gallons through in year one. We have people putting several million gallons through year 2 and 3. And he said, I can count on one hand the number of people that were existing customers that went online. This is genuinely new business. Could be the ultimate diversification strategy. Risk management, we always think of puts and calls and swaps as a way to manage risk and price and hedging. But risk management for me is bigger. It's long-term viability. If my market is shrinking and my business is shrinking, that's a risk. I need to pin up this P&L. We've leaned down our businesses. We pencil whip them to death. We've done everything we can to try to grow. It still is an uphill climb every single day. So getting online, getting in the on-demand space, doing it profitably and smartly is a great way to add gallons, add customers, and manage some of the long-term risk to your business. So I often make a promise that I won't talk about this winter because there really wasn't a winter. But I think the reason I do in this case is to sort of drive home the point about why e-commerce and online fuel sales is different than what you're currently used to in terms of warm weather. So it's a tough year to grow. There's no weather. We know that. Prices were cheap. Customers were essentially happy, and they stayed put. They weren't even on the radar. They just didn't care. It was easy, right? And you're all wringing your hands because it's tough to make money, but for the most part, customers didn't want to move, and we're seeing that it was a very tough year to grow businesses. But in our world, that's not what we saw. We saw big increases in site traffic over last year. I don't need to remind anybody that last year was polar opposite, no pun intended, of this year. So we're comparing year over year, and we have huge increases of almost 10% in visitor counts over the busiest season in 2 decades. Registrations increased. My partner, John, was actually looking for registrations to decrease because of the cheap prices and the weather. We had a 4% increase over last year of online customer registrations to the tune of about 550 on average per season, or 92 a month. Now, believe me, there's large swings here from a few hundred to thousands, but my partner, John, is a very conservative, pragmatic guy. But these are incredible numbers in a season that provided virtually nothing for this industry. Your customers are smart. They're using the internet. They were certainly visiting our customer sites and buying fuel and moving away from other people and doing it a little off the radar. So, up in the right-hand corner at the beginning of the presentation, I had a quote my partner likes to quote me on, and basically what it says is that how can anybody grow when it's warm? It doesn't make any sense. There's no industry precedent for that. When it's warm, the industry shrinks, and when it's cold, the industry grows. Well, that's not the case. If you look back to the fact that 95% of your market's buying for somebody else, warm or cold, there's tons of opportunity. So in our customers' case, we had order counts increase by 33%, and more than anything else, they grew their online gallons by 41%. Shocking, given that the rest of the industry was down somewhere between 20 and 40%, and we're moving 40% in the other direction. There's an 80% swing in difference there. Pretty dramatic. I don't know if we need a whole lot of other data points than that. And they did it very inexpensively. Our system is not a huge ticket. You could buy it with a credit card. We provide the expertise, and it can be done quite easily. Our average drop size is always great. On Demand is known for high average drops. The industry's average drop right now is about 139 gallons. You're all wincing, telling me that I'm lying, but if you look at every bit of data in the industry, including all the research I've done with your back office software companies who track your average drops, it's 139. Highly, highly inefficient. You're going to your customers at least 1.5 to 2 times more time than you need to be going at 140 gallons. On Demand is very profitable, and one reason is the drops are big. They're 199 gallons, back to the 70s. That's what we used to do in the 70s. Somehow all the technology we put in place has dropped our average drop by 60 gallons in 40 years. But be that as it may, online delivers big average drops. So you got volume, you got margin, and you're filling up trucks that have capacity. You're running around these neighborhoods anyway, and what better way to make more money than simply put more gallons out of every truck? Easy math. Number one argument that we get every time we walk in to make a presentation is that I can't do this because I have a full service business. I've had it for generations, and if I get in the discount business or the online business or the on-demand business or whatever you guys are calling it, it's going to destroy my full service brand. That is just not the case. Not only is it not the case factually, it's not the case data-wise in the real world, and I'll share that with you in a second. You don't have to make a choice. It's not a binary decision where you're either in the full service business or you're in the discount business. If you step back and think about what you're actually saying, you're saying that this industry somehow defies the laws of retail, any laws of retail known in any other industry, and it just simply doesn't. I don't want to burst anybody's bubble. We're just not that different. We're just selling something, right? If that was the case, then Mercedes wouldn't have $28,000 cars that a college kid can buy. Nordstrom wouldn't have a glorious store with somebody playing a grand piano and it'll allow you to go online and buy the same stuff at 30% less because it's going to get mailed to your house. So you can do both, and you can do this very elegantly. I think most everybody within months of turning on our system or any e-commerce system will tell you that the full service brand and the online brand can exist together. Not only can they exist together, they can thrive together. It's giving you what marketers call channel agnosticism, is that your customers can buy from you in whatever way they choose. All you care is that they buy from you. Let them decide. So it can often yield incredible growth when these two brands coexist together. Okay, second question that we get into with customers within about 49 seconds of sitting down at the table. I'm going to cannibalize my full service business. Everybody, once they find out I have this online, no-frill, self-service site, they're all going to run over there and I'm going to destroy my business. No. 2011, we did this research. Your marketing friends in the industry did it again last year. Full service customers love full service. I just told you I'm a proud full service customer. I'm looking for different things than self-service. My neighbor is looking for self-service. Great, good for him. But full service customers tend to stay put. They're not really concerned about the price. They're buying from you for different reasons, and that's not likely to change dramatically. But if a full-service customer really wanted to leave you for price, if they were that fragile and that at risk and whimsical, they'd already leave you. There's 20 choices in your market at 30 or 40 cents less a gallon, and they don't do it. Why? They're buying for a different reason. But if you're online and you have an e-commerce on-demand business, and a full-service customer wakes up and says, yeah, you know what, I want to go down that route. I like Amazon, and I want to buy my oil that way too. At least you have a place to land them. There's a safety net. So you're in both businesses. Rather than losing them to some rusty trucker down the street, you lose them to yourself. Is the margin less? Yeah, probably. Is the fulfillment cost a lot less? Definitely. So the absolute margin in many cases is often the same. More importantly, and John tracks this just diligently, is how much cannibalizing is really going on. The truth is almost zero. It's somewhere around 1% or so. It's trended down. I think the better job folks do at marketing, the better job we do at helping them with marketing, the cannibalization has trended down. In fact, Adrian yesterday during this session pointed out the fact that in reality, a lot of our customers grow their full-service business, that's right, grow, through the e-commerce business. The website and the content is created in such a way that it basically says, here you get, you know, no frills People's Express for the people old enough to remember that airline. Over here you have all this other amazing stuff. And click here if you like the amazing stuff. And a lot of people are growing their full services businesses that way because they're doing a great job at delineating between what on-demand and what full service really are. Your phone-based will call customers are a pain in the butt. They're a resource drain. They will move to online. We have a client in New Jersey who essentially moved their entire phone-based will call business, and I'm talking millions of gallons of fuel here, to our on-demand e-commerce site. Talk about a cost savings, talk about a headache savings. It improves your margin, it reduces your fulfillment costs by about 20%. So even your phone-in automatic will calls can be made more profitable by using e-commerce. Easier than you think. John calls it the 5 C's, commitment. I'm not talking a commitment to us, I'm talking a commitment to the concept, except that people are doing things differently, that the fuel oil business is not unique. It's just a retail business selling a commodity. Commit to the fact that things are changing. Commit to the fact that consumers are making different choices. Once you make that leap, things get a lot easier. Be competitive. Yes, you have to have a very competitive price in your market for self-service on-demand, definitely. But you know, we hear a lot from our customers, and I'm paraphrasing, that their clients say, I came for the price, but I stayed for the convenience. The online experience is important. You can charge more money than the bare-bones COD rusty truck guys because a customer can go on and have an Amazon-like experience with you, and they enjoy it. They enjoy the communication with you, and they enjoy the interactivity. We know that e-commerce is convenient. There's no reason to get into that. Communication, you have this growing list of email addresses that you get with e-commerce. You can communicate newsletters, fun facts, promotions, have fun seasonally, link it out to your social media. It's a really, really cool way to communicate. I often quip that in this industry, we only communicate with our customers when they call to yell at us or when we send them a bill. E-commerce and e-marketing allow you to do that in a much different format and have a lot of fun with it. And connecting. Your customers don't like to talk on the phone. Your customers don't like postcards in the mail. Connecting with that type of customer can be challenging. E-commerce and e-marketing allow you to do that. If you commit to these things, and our customers do, you will definitely be successful. You will integrate the brand. You'll be committed to a new part of the market. You will finally open up the gates to that 95% of the market or so that you don't serve. And it's much easier and cheaper than you might think, and the risks are much less than you might think. So, wow, I got 2 minutes. I always promise Adrian I will finish in less than 45 minutes. Quick summary, what have we learned? Can't rely on full service. I'm sorry, but you just can't. Here's the truth of a full service business. You have X number of customers. If you're in the Northeast, multiply it times 850. If you're in the Mid-Atlantic, multiply it times 450. And that is pretty much the way your business will go if degree days are normal. No more, no less. It's hard to grow. You're almost like a utility. On Jan 1, you can almost predict how much money you're going to make if you do that simple math. The warmer it gets, the less money you make. There's no way for you to recoup it. So you can't just put all your eggs in that basket. You have to have a place to recoup it. Many of our customers this year, the one I referenced in New York is one. The giant hole left in the P&L by 35% reduction in degree days was filled by on-demand business. That was the way that his P&L was penned up. And like many of our customers, they laugh and say, we have one of our best years ever. I don't understand the whole warm weather thing, guys. So the reliance on full service has to break. Doesn't mean that full service goes away. It just can't be all the eggs in that basket. Can't ignore half the market. If you looked at any retailer in any business and said, we'd like you to ignore half of your potential customers, they'd look at you like you have 12 heads. Consumers see huge value. You know, one of the things about the oil business that a lot of this research, market research shows, is that one of the reasons that the value proposition is falling flat on that 25 to 44 demographic is because we all look the same. I very often say, you know, we are selling a commodity, but if you're really honest with yourselves, if you walked into 10 full-service oil companies and grabbed the brochure off the desk, you're all essentially saying the same thing. So you're a commodity business using a commodity model. The consumer can't differentiate you from the other guy. You're all saying the same thing. Doing innovative things like e-commerce in conjunction with your sort of traditional business builds value in the consumer's eyes. They see you as smart, as being channel agnostic, as being like other retailers. And we know without doubt from our customers that their online customers and their full service customers value them more for being different. It's a mindset. You know, I'm sure there's people on the phone right now who are suspicious of this, whose grandfather started their business and this is their watch and they don't want to muck it up. But a lot of the opinions around this industry, a lot of the opinions about consumers are a mindset. We've been conditioned to think a certain way. I'm simply asking you to consider thinking in a way that's more in line with what we're all doing as consumers, and that the industry is not somehow separate from every other industry. The way that you're all going to shop on the internet this weekend is the way that your customers are thinking about energy. And gain competitive advantage now. We are growing very, very quickly. I'm sure our competitors are too, and that's not bragging or arrogant. That's just the recognition that this industry has woken up to the notion of e-commerce, real e-commerce. In many markets, if you're first or second in, the results can be unbelievably positive. Competitive advantage is hard enough to come by in this industry. This type of system, this type of business model, this change in the way that you're approaching things will gain competitive advantage over the guys and girls in your market who are competing against you. You know, it's going to happen fast. You don't want to get left behind here. That's not a sales pitch. I'm probably the world's worst salesperson. But it's going to quickly happen here. We already see it. We'd like to see folks get into it early. There's lots of markets that are ripe that people can be first in, and we'd be happy to share with you whether you're in one of those or not. So, a lot of information. I did it, Adrian. I think I'm 1 minute late. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to field them, comments, debates, arguments. I'm ready.
Great job, Mark, as usual. Before I begin on the questions, I just wanted to ask that we have several people who attended this morning's webinar but didn't put their name in. So for me to be able to get you out the email afterwards, I really need to know who you are. So if you could just put your name, maybe your company, into the chat box, that would be great. Also, if you have questions, please put them in the chat box. I will certainly read them off. So, Mark, the first question is, do you think the industry will ever be almost all will call?
Great question. So I would say no. Obviously, there will always be, well, first of all, let's just talk about the demand in general. So we're down around 4 billion gallons, give or take, a year. The contraction has slowed dramatically. The moves to natural gas have slowed dramatically. At one point, people were switching from heating oil at about 500,000 households a year. That number is down probably to around 10 or 15,000 households a year and shrinking. So the industry probably has plateaued. But as your friends at Google say, and I often quote, show me the data, I don't want your opinion. If I want an opinion, I would use my own. We know that the on-demand space, the will call space, continues to grow and the full service business continues to contract. It will never be all will call, but it's hard to ignore the trend towards on-demand. So that's probably the best way I can answer that.
Okay, good. How about, I have a customer online portal. How is this any different?
Yeah, we talk a lot about portals, and we talk a lot about them in a very positive sense. Obviously, allowing your customers to go on and pay their bill, or maybe interact with you, or sign up for a CAP program or whatever they're doing through a portal. That's great, but that's not an e-commerce system. It's not purpose-built to reach into your market using search engine optimization, using e-marketing, using behavioral marketing, which is an automated system for sending emails to folks who hit your site, offering promotions, communicating with your prospects in an unattended way, being able to put a customer record online, being able to order fuel, pay with a credit card, all unattended. That's a very different animal. Portals are great for existing customers, but they're not designed to attract and grow your business. So it's a different animal. It's a valuable tool. I do not want to sound like I'm anti-portal, but it really is an apples and oranges question.
Absolutely, Mark. And you know what? Anybody wants to see it, we'll be more than happy to show it. Okay, this is the last question, so if you have any other questions, please get them into the chat box. Do I use my regular trucks to deliver to internet customers? My other customers will obviously see what's going on.
Yeah. Another interesting question we get during presentations is, do I have to go out and buy all new trucks? No. What we're proposing here is a different way of doing business with a different type of customer. So you will use your heritage brand most successfully. The people who set up these online sites, you own the customers. It's your website. We set it up. We link it for you. You control the content. This is not our system. These are not our customers. They're going there. They know it's you. There's this term in internet marketing, pardon the language, called bullshit radar, is that customers know more than you think. To try to pull one over on them is not going to do you any good. So we encourage you to use your heritage brand, call your company abconline.com, serve a different part of the market, proudly drive your trucks. If the neighbors talk, one neighbor will say, yeah, I got it, for 20 cents a gallon less. Yeah, well, I got a CAP program, and I have a budget, and I have 24-hour service, and you don't. Okay, great. We're both happy. So, yeah, definitely use your own fleet. Definitely use your heritage brand if possible. We can help work you through that. Adrian, I saw another question come in. I think I might have just answered it, but did you see that one?
Maybe not. What was it?
It was about setting up the e-commerce on your website. Actually, it's a separate website. So you have your traditional full service website. We help you set up your e-commerce website. You are in control of all the branding and logos. Very often you use your own marketing firm potentially, if it's Warm Thoughts or Prime Media or any of the other great folks in the industry. It's yours, but it's a separate website. It's an e-commerce website. They are linked together if you'd like them to be, and we certainly would encourage you to do that, to let your customers know that you have sort of two channels to do business with. But yes, this is a turnkey solution. We have spent a lot of time and effort to build this around the needs of the fuel oil market. It's only built for fuel oil. It doesn't do anything else. Propane as well, for customer-owned tanks. And we take care of all the heavy lifting and getting it set up, linking it to your website. But this is not simply driving traffic to your website. This is a separate website entirely tied off to your website. So I hope I answered that.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Well, that seems to be the last question. So I want to thank you, Mark, and thanks, John, for attending, and to thank our attendees for taking the time this morning and attending. You will be receiving an email from me, if I have your name, because I don't have everyone's name, with some instructions on how to request maybe a more personalized demo or how to contact us should you have any questions. So with that, I'd like to say everybody have a great day, have a great weekend, and thanks for attending.